Hi and welcome to this pro-social podcast. In today's podcast I'll talk with Shannon Hyner, Football Development Officer at the London Football Association. We discuss her work and life around football, including how she picked up a passion for the sport and also jobs throughout her career that are around football. Before we start, please make sure to subscribe to our channel and check the description for our Twitter, Facebook and LinkedIn pages. Okay, so thank you very much for being here today, Shannon. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
That's all good. So before we go into the questions, do you want to give a brief summary of your work and your interests?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Shannon and I currently work for the London FA. Started working there in 2019 after I left university and started in coach education, but I've now moved over to football development. Before that, when I was at university, I worked in the higher education sector, so a little bit volunteering in both netball and football. My main kind of interests are pretty much most sport, but predominantly football. Been playing since I was 11. And yeah, that's kind of like the main introduction.
So you said you went to university. What university did you go to?
So I went to University of Nottingham and I studied English.
Right. I think I would have assumed it would be sport, but is there, obviously you did a lot of sport within university. Do you want to talk about what kind of work and experiences you did sport-wise?
Yeah, so I think I surprised a lot of people by saying I didn't actually do a sport degree. I didn't even do a sport A level, so there you go. Oh. But yeah, so my first kind of introduction to like football in uni was I didn't get on the Bucks team, the football team, so that was kind of like my first thought was I'm going to go and play Bucks football. And I did actually get on the team, which for me was devastating. So I then tried to find where I could find football outside of the kind of Bucks area, and so I started playing IMS, which is the casual intramural football league, which was run by the university. And while I was doing that, they offered the opportunity to go and do sports coaching out in the community. And you would become a sports leader. So I decided to take them up on that offer and started running football sessions with kids in back key stage 2 kids in primary schools, predominantly female, alongside a couple of other girls. And that was kind of like my first start into football at university. And then in my second year, I was also playing netball for the English Society. So they're just a casual netball team that played on a Sunday. And the captain asked if in my second year I would like to take over the role and kind of run that team the following year. So I said yes, I would. And so I became the sports secretary for English Society, which meant the running of the netball team and the organisation of the league, but also other committee stuff. So fairs and charity events and those kind of things and career events. So it was a good mix of both the academic side of English, but also the sports side, which I was really interested in. And then in my final year, I decided that I would give back to the IMS that I'd been playing for the past 3 years and really enjoyed, and decided I wanted to kind of run that league. So I joined at Nottingham. They have a committee of students who volunteer across the whole IMS, and then you specify in each different sector about what you want to do. So I was the IMS executive for women's football, and that involved running the whole league. So that was a league made up of about 100 women just wanting to like do casual football mainly, a couple of girls who were like filling in between doing bucks and just wanting to have casual games that fit around their degree a bit better. And so worked mainly on running that, but also with the wider executive. So we ran a varsity against Loughborough, which we won. I can take that trophy away from me. And then also we did the FA's People Cup. So we had like that with the community. There was also, we did some football matches against like B teams and like other Bucks universities. So Birmingham came over and played football with us. And yeah, that was kind of the main thing. And also helping out with the other varsities. So the main varsity against Nottingham Trent, which is always good fun. But yeah, they were the main kind of pillars of my sport progression within university.
Wow, that is a lot definitely take you up on the word that you're very sporty from all of that work and experience. So we've got to relate the podcast as much to football as we can.
Yeah.
So going back further in university, when did you first pick up passion for football? Like what teams you played for? Is there any role models you had growing up?
Yeah, so actually, surprisingly, football was not my first sport. I was always really sporty, but I started off in horse riding and dressage and like show jumping and that kind of stuff. And then eventually, I've got a twin sister, and she always had a passion for football from the age of dot. And she had a team, and they actually didn't have enough players. And so forcibly was made to go training sessions and played for the team. Didn't want to go, but then eventually after a year, really, really just fell in love with it. Being naturally sporty, you just want to get involved with it, and that was probably why I still to this day, my sister is the reason I do what I do and I play sport, because seeing what we had to deal with when we were starting out and trying to even get games or like being able to play was difficult. So she was always my drive to kind of keep going. And so, yeah, I started playing football first for a club in Tunbridge Wells called Ridgeway. I think they're now called Tunbridge Wells FC. So played from the age of 11 to 18 with them. Won a few cups, won a few leagues, which was always good fun. And then I think that gradually led me to be a bit more interested in sport, in football rather more generally. So joined the family as long-suffering Spurs fans and went to the matches. Watch us lose quite often, but now then saw us win. So started to get into not just playing, but also watching. I had a few trials back in the day, but that was never really a push for me. I never really wanted to play that high level, and to be honest, I probably wasn't that good enough to be in the high level, but just enjoyed playing. And then I went to play 7-a-side at university, and then when I came out of university, I really wanted to get back into 11-a-side football. So I joined Sevenoaks Town Ladies, and that's been brilliant because this past year they've just decided to really invest in the women's game, and we won the league this year because of their contribution to wanting to push us and to get us to the next level. So we're looking to go up a league next year and hopefully continue a very positive run. But yeah, it's been nice to be able to come back and play proper competitive football again and really push myself. But like I said, everything to do with football has all been about enjoyment and just enjoying playing the game. And at the moment it stops becoming enjoyable with the moment I walk away, but I can't see that happening anytime soon.
Right. So you said when you went to university you started playing 7-a-side, but also your role now with Bucks includes futsal, if I'm right.
Yeah.
Did you ever play that throughout university? Because it's quite a popular sport throughout as I play myself for my uni.
Yeah, no, I never did play futsal. I got the IMS girls when I was supporting them in the running of the league to kind of get more involved with it, and quite a few of them, they ended up setting up a futsal. Almost the sixth team was made up of IMS girls, which was brilliant to see. And I think it's one of those sports that working with the Bucks kind of representative group is something we're really talking about, like growing the awareness of futsal, because I think a lot of people just put it under the bracket of indoor football, and it's its own sport. And I think it's something to really push and develop. And I know the sports advisory group and the guys I'm working with on there, that's something we really want to start looking at, how futsal runs within universities and how we can make it not just aside onto football, it's its own sport and its own kind of entity, and it's something that you're seeing to develop. So even in London FA level, I don't necessarily specialise in futsal, but the team, they're working with a lot of great leagues that are looking at the futsal alternative, and also pushing the game a bit more and professionalising it as well. I think, yeah, like I said, a lot of people see it as just as a side option almost, but I think actually what the important thing is to look at it as its own sport and grow it as its own sport.
Completely agree with you there. So going back to what you said, your role with the London Football Association, could you talk more on that? So what your responsibilities are from day to day?
Yeah, so I originally started in the coach education department as an admin, and that was my first in, and it was the first job I got after I left university. And yeah, that was great because at the time we were heading we ran all coach education from level 1 to UEFA B internally. So I was part of the kind of recruiting process, the part of the tutor workforce. So the tutor workforce that ran those courses were brilliant monks in London. They were some of the best tutors that I've ever experienced with, and they just all had a passion for wanting to upskill coaches. And also, like, the coaches you got to work with, they wanted to learn and they wanted to get better, and it was amazing to see like perceptions change and then work so hard for their coaching qualifications. And then coincided with the FA taking full responsibility for coach education. I then moved over to become football development officer, which meant working more in the development side of the sport. And in particular for me, I work on programs, which includes Wildcats, which is girls aged 5 to 11 recreational program, Squad, which is the brand new rec program, which is for 12 to 14 girls, and Just Play, which is open age casual football. And these are all run by some brilliant centres across London, and I just kind of facilitate them and show the programme, give them the support, equipment, funding, and just kind of help them get off their feet. A lot of these programmes work to get the Just Play works to kind of just have that casual offer for football amongst all the competitive. The competitive game has grown by very quickly, so it's nice to have those kind of outlets where people don't have to do the full 11 aside. They can go and enjoy football casually and just turn up and play. And then the recreational girls side is working towards the Euros legacy, kind of engaging girls and offering entry level at every point, so they can see where football can fit into their lives, whatever stage they're at. And it doesn't have to necessarily be a competitive game, but that can lead to that. And also you can lead to maybe talent centres or those kind of England talent days. But it's just providing a step in every direction in every area. So whether that be in school or outside, there's always an option for girls to kind of get involved and play. And been working alongside the Women and Girls Officer in how we can make that offer as the best it can be in London particularly. And then I also work in the further in higher education sectors as well. So working with universities and colleges in London to support the delivery of football within those areas. That's something that's quite new, but it's something that we're really working with at the moment. And then aside from that, I also support on the marketing and communications for the London FA. So anything you see on the website, social media, and that kind of side of stuff, I kind of work with the team on, getting everything out there and making sure everyone knows what we're doing.
Well, sounds like you do everything for the London Football Association there. So going back to saying you worked with British universities and colleges, you also do that with Bucks. So what's your main role for that area of work?
Yeah, so that's quite a new thing. I've just kind of only started getting involved with. So I saw back in January, I think it was at the start of the year, that they were looking for an independent representative to sit on the football and futsal sport advisory group. So it's a voluntary role where I just kind of offer support and knowledge and ideas to the Bucks development team. And we're only a small group at the minute. There's only about 4 or 5 of us. And it's something we're looking to grow. So at the minute, we're just kind of in the early stages. We're there basically as a sounding board for the Bucks football development team to kind of give them different interpretations, different understanding of how football fits into Bucks basically. And for me in particular, the idea was that I would be able to give kind of a county FA representative. That's something which is not very, I think, like I mentioned earlier, it's not something that we've delved loads into, but an understanding of, so you're doing this in Bucks. Well, this is how the county FA does it. How is this helpful to you? And vice versa, that if there's something that they're doing that can be implemented into a county FA perspective, then it's beneficial for both universities and for the county FA. So I think it's kind of trying to be a bit of both. So be a support to them, but also them to be a support to me. And it's been working really well. And like I said previously, futsal is something that's quite a focus because football's the most played sport in universities. There's no doubt about it that that's the highest level of entries, the biggest sector within Bucks. But futsal is kind of catching up. So how do we support universities to facilitate that and it work around football as well? So that if there is individuals that do both, how can they do both basically? So that's kind of like the main thing. And at the moment we are recruiting for new members to join the Stag. So if you go on Bucks website, you can see that there's an advert out there. So if anyone's interested in it, then go ahead and have a look at that.
Well, I might take you off on that. So try and beat people to it. So obviously with your career, it's very football orientated. Did you always see yourself going into a career in sport, or more specifically a career in football?
Not at all, to be perfectly honest. So I was always very academic at school, but sport was always a hobby. It was never kind of a career. And to be honest, I didn't know it could be a career because I didn't play professionally. There was no sign of me joining any academy anytime soon. And I wasn't really into coaching or being a PE teacher. So those to me felt like the only options. So it just didn't even cross my mind. Like I said, I did PE at GCSE, but other than that, I never academically studied sport again, really. English was something that I picked up quite easily and I really enjoyed, and it seemed like the most natural kind of step for me. So when it came to university, English was the choice I made in terms of degree. And my initial thought was to kind of go down the very traditional English routes of career paths, so journalism, communications, copywriting, that kind of stuff. But it wasn't until I started realising, and it got to about my final year university, and I was looking back thinking, what is all my experience actually in? And it's all sport. Everything I did was sport. And it wasn't actually until I did the IMS that I kind of realised, oh wait, sport development's a job. Like someone can pay you to do this. And then by that point, I kind of decided, actually, what's the point of me trying to shoehorn my degree to my career when actually I can make my career what it is from my experiences, and my knowledge and my bank of experience came from sports, and it came particularly from football. So that's when, about that time in my career, I decided, actually, no, I'm gonna only explicitly look at sports development, career paths outside of university. And in the first instance, I didn't think my experience would be able to support me. I didn't value that experience enough, which in hindsight I should have a lot more, because at one point I was searching master's degree in sports management because I thought no one's going to employ me because I haven't got a sports degree. And then it wasn't until I got offered the job at the London FA, which literally I got offered a week before I graduated. I was like, oh wait, no, I have the ability to do this. And that's when I finally did realise. It probably wasn't until I got that job offer I was like, oh no, I can be a football development officer, and that's something I can really aspire to do, basically.
Well, it's been very good at hearing from a lot of your work experiences. So we've got one more question to wrap this all up. What advice would you give to young women who are looking to have a career within sport or football? That could be advice from your own experience, for example. Yeah,
so I think my first piece of advice would be just say yes, have a go at everything. Or like I said, my realisation I wanted to come into sport and work in football came from volunteering and came from trying lots of different areas of football. So I tried coaching and I tried just the admin side of it. I tried the delivery side of it. And then I realised actually what I want to do is in the developmental. And then I looked at that career path. And do your research. Know that there's so many different roles in football. It's not just your standardised roles, and don't be as limited as I thought I was back a few years ago. I thought there was only so many pathways. But take your time to research and have a look out there. Volunteer, have a go at everything. Don't ever turn anything down. I got told off because I used to just say yes to everything. But that's the reason you get to where you are. And then the final bit of advice would be join any sporting network you see. So being a part of organisations such as Women in Football or the Women's Sport Collective have been great opportunities for me to network with like-minded people. And these are organisations which are female-driven for women. And it's very clear from everything they do and the talks they host and the networking opportunities. And now I have a bank of people that I feel like I can go into any room in football and know someone. which is such a big thing for particularly women, is to not feel isolated or on your own. So make sure you get into those organisations early and start saying yes to things. Is kind of like my two top ones. And I can guarantee you that if you go to anyone and say, can I have some help, or will you help me, they won't say no. So just be open to putting your hand up and saying, can you help me? How do I do this? So yeah, they're kind of like my main tips. And particularly for women, just don't be afraid of it. There's no need to be afraid. The space is becoming more and more